That's the beauty of Kickstarter, is you can kind of get the funding and you can use that money to finalize the product.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the new episode of Ecom 365. I'm co-founder and CEO of ShopAgain.io. For this episode, I have a new guest with me, Rob Kessler. He's the inventor of $1 Million Collar, a simple solution to fix the unsightly collapse of the collar of a shirt. Before this, Rob had extensive sales experience in a number of high-dollar industries, including diamonds, real estate, and automotive sales. We shall talk to Rob about how he moved to a new role of online store owner and how he succeeded there. Thanks for joining us, Rob. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. How did you come up with $1 Million Collar? What's your background story?
My background, I guess, is that I've always kind of looked at things and thought that there was a better way. I'm very logistically minded, I guess. I've always kind of had my own drive in business. So, from cutting lawns when I was little to all the jobs I had getting to where I'm at today. But the idea really came from my wedding day, which is pictured right here. This is actually before I can say I do. My beautiful bride standing next to me and my shirt was just a sloppy mess. So we got married on the beach in Jamaica. I came home from Jamaica and I started searching all over the internet to see if there's anything that actually fixed, that gave structure to this part of the shirt. Everything was based on the collar. There's nothing based on the front of the shirt where the buttons and the holes are. So I just went with what I knew. I started with a collar stay and just made it longer. So, basically it's a 9-inch collar stay that goes down the front of your shirt. It gets sewn in. Once it's in the shirt, it lasts forever and it'll never fold. It'll never crumble. And so it took about 2.5, 3 years to perfect and patent. There's my patent up there. And, it's just a night and day difference. So, I don't know, I'm bullheaded and I found a solution and I just kept working my way through until it worked, until we got it out there.
That's amazing. I mean, a lot of guests on our podcast have had the story where they encountered a situation in their real life and they saw an opportunity and they went ahead and built a brand around it. So thanks for sharing that, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, that's where most innovation comes from. It's a frustration in your life and hopefully other people have the same frustration and you can communicate that to the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, being your own customer has its own incentive because it helps you craft the solution that actually works.
Yeah. I mean, I tested through, if you look at the different designs I had and the different patterns I had, it's almost crazy to even think that I was what it ended up becoming, how far off I was. But I was fortunate. I had a lot of friends that were willing to donate their dress shirts and, hope it worked. But I got to see a lot of different styles. And now we have a universal fitting piece that goes, we've been installed in almost 500,000 shirts now. We've got sales in almost 130 countries. So, it seems to resonate. So it's definitely a different world from, person to person, like the real estate and the car sales and things like that. I mean, everything I did was all relationship based. And now being on the internet, it's just a whole nother world for us, or for me.
Absolutely. Tell us more about that. So, when you started your brand, how did you get your first few hundred customers?
You start with your circle of influence. So we originally were actually going to do a Kickstarter. So, we did a Kickstarter. We were going to make our own shirt. And in the process of that Kickstarter, the product really, to be honest, wasn't even done yet. It wasn't even finalized. But that's the beauty of Kickstarter, is you can kind of get the funding and you can use that money to finalize the product. So we were going to do a shirt. We did not get funded, but the unequivocal feedback from people that were willing to pay for our product was, why can't I upgrade the shirts I already know and love? And why are you trying to compete in the dress shirt category? Why not license the technology to another brand and let them just put it in shirts? So we took that and went from, trying to make a couple thousand shirts to making this aftermarket universal piece that, I can fit $20,000 worth of inventory in a box, and $20,000 worth of shirts takes up half my basement. So, there was a big advantage to where we ended up, and now it's money we're actually getting the direction now. But we just listened to the customer, and that's how we got the first stuff. We just pushed it out through Kickstarter, and just followed and followed and followed. We went to fashion influencers on YouTube. I mean, the product is very, very visual. It's very demonstrable. So we knew that, getting in front of people visually was the way to go. And that's what started off all the sales was those fashion influencers.
Okay. I know at one point of time in your life, you decided to sell everything and start over. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I met my wife, and she's just a go-getter and has these goals. And she was just like, dude, I can't live my whole life in Wisconsin. So after we got married, we traveled to California quite a bit. My dad had a house out there, and so we'd go visit, and, we'd always come home and be like, God, we just met the most incredible people. We should do this. And we've been talking about it. And so about 5 years into being together, I took her out there for her birthday, and we came home from that trip, and she said, let's do it. And I said, okay, when? And she said, by my next birthday. And so within 1 year, we sold my screen printing and embroidery business. We had a duplex. We sold that. We had a second car. We had a little ski boat. We furniture, like we unloaded everything. We knew nobody. If it didn't fit the back of my F-150 pickup truck, we didn't take it. And we literally started over with less than a year's notice. And we were actually on the 10-day drive to California when we celebrated her birthday. And the patent attorney called and said that your patent was approved. So it was a really crazy, amazing thing. But we got there, we knew nobody, but we just built an entire network out there. And now about a year ago, my wife was working in Atlanta, Georgia, which is now the movie making capital of the world. She's a stunt woman. And so she called me. She's like, was here working for 7 weeks. And she said, I bought a house. And so 2 weeks later, I had our house in Los Angeles packed up, and we were gone in less than 2 weeks notice, gone, like totally out of California. So, we were just willing to, change and just do whatever. So keeps life fun.
Absolutely. That's an amazing story. One thing that caught my attention, your company has a reputation of never miss a deadline guarantee. How did you pull that off?
That was my screen printing business. And, I had people come to me all the time, like, oh, I ordered shirts from this other guy, and he promised them to me on this day, and they totally missed. And it's like, well, if you have an event or you have a certain thing, you can't miss the deadline. And so I did whatever it took to get customers. And to me, to just say, look, if I give you a due date, I'll do it. And funny enough, I was, for a very good friend of mine, I was printing shirts for a fundraiser. It was a leukemia fundraiser. And I think it was only 75 shirts or 100 shirts or something, but I was halfway through printing them, and I was trying to read the word leukemia as I was printing them. And I said, God, that just doesn't look right. So I looked up the word, and I had spelled it wrong on the screen. And they were due the next day. And so that morning I drove an hour and a half down to my distributor, picked up the shirts I needed, drove an hour and a half back, and printed and finished up the shirts and delivered them that afternoon, like I said I would. So to me, integrity and just going the extra mile for people is what sets you apart. So
absolutely, no doubt about that. I think that's a very inspiring story, and for any business, your word is what matters. That's what sets you apart from others.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the hardest thing online to try to translate. When I talk to somebody face to face, I can say, look, man, I'm going to be here for you. If we're doing real estate, I like to work with buyers. It's like, hi, I got your back. I'm going to make sure you get the best deal possible. I'm going to make sure that you're protected. I can say that face to face, but if somebody lands on my website, has to kind of navigate around and learn, you have to try to do different things to make that story come across, which is, to me, a lot harder to do. I mean, I'm just much better face to face.
Absolutely. I think that's the case with most people. We are not meant to interact online with each other in general, right? We like meeting people, speaking to them. And I would say, you're doing a good job of still communicating that value, because when I was researching about you, I came across this. So that means it's out there and people are still finding it.
Yeah, I mean, we found that Amazon is very powerful. We've got a lot of great reviews on Amazon. We've got great reviews on our website. I mean, you have to kind of use that third party, justification to convince people sometimes that a product's worth it or not. I mean, it's very, very infrequent that I'll buy something online and not have read at least a few reviews to see, even if they're 1 star, it's like, is that guy just crying because the shipment was a day late, or is it actually a review about the product? I mean, that's what frustrates me about our site or our reviews is a lot of times the review, I get a 1 star review, it's because the shipment was lost or something that has nothing to do with the product. So, you just got to deal with it, but.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. What do you advise to anyone who are starting their own business?
Do it for the right reason. I'm passionate about this product. My wife and I have a yacht charter business. We love boating. And we built that business to an incredible height. And it's because we were really passionate about it. I mean, I think if you're getting into business to chase the dollar, that's where you can get burned out. And the days that I'm like wondering what I'm doing with my life and, why have I committed so much time to this? And it's not as successful as I thought it would be yet. Those are the days that you're able to push through because I'm actually passionate about the underlying reason why I started this. And so I think that's what gives you the power to push through on those tough days or when you're questioning your life decisions. Fortunately, my wife is usually on a high when I'm running low and vice versa. If she's questioning things and not working for a little bit, I'm usually doing pretty good. And so we lift each other up and it works out pretty good that way.
Yeah. They're absolutely right, Rob. Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, and it has its own highs and lows, which come very frequently. So, having a support system is extremely important for founders, and your spouse could be your greatest supporting system, if you have.
Yeah, I mean, and I know people do it all the time where, maybe the one person's got a 9-to-5 job and the other person's an entrepreneur. But I mean, I can't tell you how many days I was in my basement screen printing shirts until 2 or 3 in the morning. And, if I didn't have a spouse that understood what it takes to be a business owner, I think that's a challenge. But the other challenge is that because we're both entrepreneurs and both have our own businesses, that there's days where like, we have no money, like so, there's times where it's just like, things just aren't clicking. So, that can be very stressful too. So sometimes it's nice to have that steady income, but fortunately she's good at saving money and tucking it away so that I don't see it. So I don't spend it when we're actually having good times. So she usually keeps the finances in order for us.
Thanks for sharing that, Rob. I think there's one more area where audience can learn from your experience. What's your advice on bringing partner?
To me, a partner should be the opposite. If you've got someone that's your best friend and you agree on everything and doesn't challenge you, I don't think you're going to make it through the reason why you have a partner. There's challenges in business, and my wife is very, very organized. She's very A-type personality. She does contracts. Like, I came up with this whole yacht charter business idea, and I'm just like, hey, we should buy a boat and we can do this. And she's like, okay, well, I'll build the website. I'll do the contracts. Like, she built in the whole underlying that actually makes the business work. So we butt heads, but it works because she's willing to handle that and I'm willing to handle this. There's a great book called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about one person being an innovator and like coming up with ideas and things like that, and the other one is the implementer. And there's dozens and dozens of cases where like Steve Jobs and Wozniak, it was like Steve is like this crazy visionary, and then Wozniak was the one that put it all into place. And so, without that support, it's very rare that somebody is as creative as somebody like Steve Jobs and as organized to be able to implement, because if you're that creative, your mind is always like generating ideas. I don't have the time or the patience to kind of follow through and like implement the thing. So, if you're an implementer, you're the one, you're help make the business work. Just because you don't come up with the idea doesn't mean that it's not, to me, you just got to find that opposite. Like I said, opposites attract, opposites push each other through. You're going to butt heads, but I think that's how you make things work.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Rob. In any partnership, it really matters that one person is, as you said, visionary, and the other person can actually keep a reality check on that and give some grounds to those, grand visions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If the both people become visionary, then who's going to build?
It takes us to a totally different mindset to be able to take an idea and, make it come to life. My partner, fortunately, is very, very graphically inclined. So, I come up with an ad or something and it is horrible, but he comes up and it's like, damn, dude, that's what I envisioned. I just couldn't make that happen. So thank you.
That's good to know. Thanks for joining us, Rob. It was absolutely a pleasure to speaking to you. Finally, to our viewers, if you have any questions about e-commerce, paid acquisition, marketing, retention, or development, email us at ecom365@shopagain.io, and we will have them answered by an expert in the future episodes. This episode was sponsored by ShopAgain.io, an AI-powered customer retention platform. Thank you for joining us.